In the 21st century, overpopulation has become such a problem that scientists begin preparing for the colonization of Mars. Their first steps in the terraforming of Mars involve seeding the planet with moss to absorb the sunlight and create a hospitable atmosphere, as well as increase the surface temperature. They also introduced genetically engineered cockroaches to spread the moss. 500 years later, in the year 2597, in the city of Tokyo, Komachi and Nanao are being chased by the police for committing murder. Dr. Honda, who works with the Japanese government, takes this opportunity and offers them a deal to get out of trouble. He wants them to join a crewed mission sent to the Red Planet to clear out the cockroach colony in preparation for the human colonization of Mars. The doctor promises to alleviate them from their crimes and even grant them a large sum of money if they complete this task. Komachi refuses to sign the contract, as he knows that the doctor must have an ulterior motive. Nanao hesitates, but decides to go on the mission, as she sees no other way out. Komachi yells at Nanao for being gullible. Since he doesn't want her to go alone, Komachi reluctantly signs the contract as well. 2 years later, Komachi, Nanao, and another group of misfits and criminals are given the opportunity to take part in the mission to gain forgiveness for their crimes. They head to Mars on a spaceship called Bugs 2. Komachi has a friendly rivalry with a man named Jim, who's always trying to beat him in hand-to-hand combat. Later, Captain Dojima arrives and informs them to prepare for their landing on Mars. They successfully touch down on the planet, and the team members are surprised to see that Mars is no longer red, but looking more like Earth. Lieutenant Mina launches a device into the distance, and it begins shooting out chemicals that are meant to destroy the cockroaches. The captain orders the team to spread out in groups of 2 and confirm the eradication processes within 3 hours. The gothic-looking woman named Asuka refuses to team up with the Yakuza and insists on going with the computer hacker Ichiro. The captain grants her wishes at the Yakuza's disapproval, as he doesn't want any unnecessary conflicts within the team. Their drone locates the spaceship called Bugs 1 that was sent here secretly by the Japanese government 10 years ago. Dojima confirms with Honda that their team is in the process of first contact, and the doctor is very happy as if he had something else planned for the mission. Jim notices something wrong while scouting the area with Maria, as they do not find any dead roaches among the moss. They continue heading forwards, and Jin is shocked to see human-sized anthropomorphic cockroaches. They quickly hide to avoid any contact. At the same time, Komachi and Nanao also discover similar creatures. Komachi tries to greet the humanoid, but it rushes towards them and attacks Nanao right away, breaking her neck. It then runs off very fast, as Jim's team regroups to their location. He tells Komachi that other members have also encountered the creatures, and Asuka was killed in the process. They head back to the ship and question the captain, who turns out knew about the monsters from the very beginning, but was ordered to keep quiet by the doctor. He explains that these creatures are the result of the accelerated evolution of the original small roaches sent by humans to aid in the terraforming efforts 500 years earlier. The doctor appears as a hologram and explains to his team that they have nothing to worry about, as he prepared a range of specially concocted DNA infusions individually designed to give each member of the team special powers. Osako suggests that they leave Mars immediately, as it's obviously too dangerous to stay here. The terraformers begin approaching their ship. One of the team members, Godly, is eager to accept the infusion, believing that his powers will also give him added bargaining power when he returns to Earth. He walks on the surface of Mars and injects the DNA when he encounters a giant cockroach, transforming into a Maedera beetle with the power to emit fire. Lee begins attacking the cockroach, knocking it back. The terraformer strikes back as well, and they appear to be evenly matched. Lee shoots an intense flame from his hands, burning the creature and pushing it backward. To everyone's shock, Lee didn't kill the cockroach, only burning its outer shells. The cockroach survives the fire blast and kills God Lee. A giant cockroach climbs on top of the spacecraft and continues to hit the glass until it breaks through its transparent shell, killing 2 members of the team as it falls. Captain Dojima injects the DNA and transforms into a bullet ant with the power to lift 100 times his own weight and kills the giant cockroach. Before they can celebrate, the radar picks up hundreds of terraformers heading their way, and the team decides that they must leave Mars in order to survive. The lieutenant tries to start the spaceship, but strangely, the engine refuses to work, almost like it was sabotaged. With no other choice, the captain decides to be the decoy and tells everyone else to venture out to grab parts from the Bugs 1, the vessel from the previous mission 10 years earlier, to get the current vessel Bugs 2 into shape to return to Earth. Ichiro volunteers to stay behind to help the captain. Komachi takes a last look at Nanao before he leaves and promises to return for her. Strangely, he notices a string of silk flying up from Nanao's mouth. The team enters the Mars rover, and Tezuka injects the DNA and transforms into a rove beetle, then sits on the back of the Mars rover and blows a jet of fire out to propel it across the terrain and kill giant cockroaches at the same time. Meanwhile, the captain and Ichiro remain behind to battle the swarm of giant cockroaches. Ichiro injects the DNA and transforms into a sleeping chironomid, then removes the oxygen from the vessel to cause the cockroaches to die of asphyxiation. The cockroaches begin to die off one by one, and Ichiro faints to the ground as well from the lack of air. The expedition team encounters a wave of giant cockroaches, but they push through it. Tezuka focuses all his energy on propelling the rover, and they crash into the sea of cockroaches. Luckily, the team manages to break through and land safely on the ground. They continue forward, but soon a second larger wave approaches, and the team fears that Tezuka will not be able to survive this one, so Osako volunteers to go out to help him. She injects the DNA and transforms into a black weevil, an insect strong enough to survive being stepped on by an elephant. Mary joins her, injecting the DNA to become a rainbow stag beetle with optical camouflage capabilities. They protect Tezuka as he propels the rover through the second wave. The three are thrown from the vehicle and killed by the giant cockroaches as the rover rolls over and enters into autopilot mode to continue its journey. The teammates left behind try fighting off the insects, but get killed one by one. The remaining members discover and enter the Bugs One. Komichi tries looking for the other teammates, but the Yakuza thinks that they are the only survivors. Mina tries running a diagnostic on Bugs One, only to see that it's already attempting to send something back to Earth. Outside, two more members of the team are shot by giant cockroaches, wielding large firearms. Komichi injects himself with the DNA and transforms into a giant hornet with amazing battle powers. He attacks the cockroaches with blows as he punches holes into their bodies. Imuto injects the DNA and transforms into a desert locust with flying and powerful kicking and jumping abilities. He's able to decapitate numerous enemies using his kicks alone. J. Mina Obari injects the DNA and transforms into an orchid mantis, a carnivorous insect. Mina slashes the insects into pieces. It is revealed that Dr. Ko Honda, the person who sent the team on this mission, is in communication with the giant cockroaches, who appear to have human intelligence. It goes to Bugs 2 and turns on the oxygen while pointing a gun at the captain who's lying on the floor, exhausted from fighting. Suddenly, the cockroach gets opened up from the inside, and Asuka emerges from its body. Asuka's transformation is based on the emerald cockroach wasp, who has the ability to control the minds of cockroaches and wear their exoskeleton. Instead of dying from the earlier attacks, she was able to manipulate the insects into killing each other. She quickly dries her face from the sticky white liquids and proceeds to shoot the captain multiple times. Asuka pours water onto Ichiro, whose transformation is the Asian coronamide. He can survive in almost any condition and only requires water to reactivate his cells. The two are working on a secret mission for the Doctor, and Ichiro was the one who sabotaged the flight system on Bugs 2. The Doctor ordered them to bring the eggs from the Terra Formars back to Earth, no matter the cost. Komichi and his team hear the Bugs 2 engine from afar, and the Doctor explains that their plan was never to simply exterminate the cockroaches from Mars. He plans on retrieving more genetic materials from the insects in order to make better hybrid soldiers for the Japanese government, which would make the country become a superpower. They were sent to Mars as test subjects, and their fight with the Terra Formars is being recorded as valuable research data. In fact, they were only able to create the insect hybrids because Bugs 1 was able to retrieve a carcass from the cockroaches. While Ichiro and Asuka plan to take off from Mars with a giant cockroach egg on board, the egg hatches prematurely and produces two evolved Terra Formars. Asuka charges in and stings them with her claws, trying to control their minds, but their evolution makes them able to resist Asuka's manipulation. They proceed to kill her by punching through her stomach. The spaceship takes off into the air, heading for Earth while the new terraformers call for the assistance of the cockroaches on the surface, who sprout wings and ascend into the sky to soften the landing of the Bugs 2, right beside Bugs 1. The evolved cockroaches surround the team and attack. Komichi and his team all inject another dose of DNA to transform and do battle with the hordes of cockroaches. They manage to defeat many of the terraformers, but run into trouble when facing the two evolved ones that show amazing battle powers similar to human fighters. Mina tries attacking one of them, but gets her arm ripped off and killed in an instant. Seeing his friend being destroyed, Jim injects himself with his second dose of mutation, causing the transformation to progress even further, increasing his powers. Komichi injects himself again as well, and the two continue to destroy the enemies with their heightened abilities. After killing many of the terraformers, Jim jumps into the air and injects himself a third time, causing wings to grow from his back. The army of cockroaches flies towards him and fights him in the air, but they're no match for the human hybrid. they continue to fight against the creatures, wave after wave, and eventually slow down as they become fatigued. Jim understands that they must destroy the leaders and injects himself with multiple doses of mutations, causing his body to spike in power, but also making the transformation permanent. He takes this opportunity and attacks the evolved cockroach with a kick and kills him by knocking his head off. Jim falls down soon after, as he exhausted all his reserves. Komachi tries to defend himself against the remaining leader, but gets defeated easily and gravely wounded. Just when they're about to be killed, the evolved cockroach notices something from behind and pulls back his attack. A glowy moth-like creature flies towards the insects while dropping sparkles of dust in the air. It turns out that Nanao's body has evolved into her final form in order to help her teammates against the Terra Formars. She flies towards the cockroaches and continues to drop the glowing dust. Jim realizes that these are miniature bombs. Komachi flies towards Nanao, trying to save her from the battle, but Jim tells him that she's been dead a long time. A cockroach fires a weapon at her, causing an explosion that destroys the cockroach horde, as well as Nanao. Jim rushes towards his friend and saves him from the explosion, while Komachi cries, seeing the woman he loves buried inside the flames. When everything settles, Komachi wakes up and walks towards his friend, only to see that he's permanently transformed into a locust creature. He tries to comfort Jim and tells him no matter how he looks, he will always be human in the heart. With his last breath, Jim tells his friend to live on for both of them, as tears fall from his eyes. Komachi finds the evolved cockroach still alive and punches him in anger for the destruction that he caused. He wants to kill the terraformer, but eventually decides to spare his life and end the hatred between men and cockroaches. Komachi, after sparing the life of the cockroach leader, boards the bugs too again and finds Ichiro still alive. He confronts Ichiro, who saves him from a cockroach attack, then suggests that they return to Earth quickly on a two-person spacecraft. They decide to cooperate for now and resolve their differences once they get back on Earth. As they blast off, the leader of the cockroaches decides against flying after them because Komachi spared his life, repaying the debt. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Honda notices that Ichiro has hacked into their system and is broadcasting the whole event on international television. He decides to hide because the government will kill him when they learn of his actions. His assistant points her gun at the doctor, as she turns out to be a spy from the government. She attempts to shoot him, but he stops the bullet and tosses a spider at her, which releases a toxic purple spray and kills her. The film ends with Ichiro and Komachi in the small vessel discussing their plans for the future. Ichiro swears that he'll expose the people responsible for this experiment, while Komachi plans to build graveyards for Nanao and every member. He also decides to return to Mars in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video to show your support. Goodbye.